Okay.
And we're live. Good evening, everyone. What's up? Welcome to the second episode of the AMN Podcast. And we have a good show for you tonight. So I hope everyone will enjoy this.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I'm sure we got some great topics.
Yeah. What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
Yeah, we have a pretty good topic lineup for tonight. So let's just introduce everyone. Tonight we have Super Metal Dave.
Yep. What's up? Thanks for having me.
We have Nate from Nintendo Prime.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Feels good to be back. It's been, 3 weeks? Almost?
I think it's been, it's
before E3.
Hard.
Yeah, E3 happened.
Yeah, E3 happened, and everyone just went off the radar because it was just so busy. Everyone, yeah. And finally, we have a Dreamcast guy.
Hi, glad to be back.
So, I mean, E3 was good. Everyone's talked about it already, so we don't have that much to say. Everyone's basically said their pieces on it and everything. So I guess tonight let's start off with let's just start off with a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Everyone is
which I played.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yes, I'm jealous too because I wanted to go to E3. I'm like, you know what? I'll skip this year. Sony's not, my health isn't that great right now, so I'll skip it. And it happened, even though Sony wasn't there, like a lot of the companies made up for that. A lot of them didn't make up for that, but Square Enix did a good job. The remake was, well, as you can hear by the crowd reaction and everything, it was probably one of, if not the most talked about game of the show.
Oh yeah. And ever since then, people haven't stopped talking about it. They've been doing tons of interviews, even this week, revealing crazy new details. I'm more hyped about it than ever.
Right. I think 7. Okay, let's just say 7 and Cyberpunk. And the Breath of the Wild announcement was with the 3 biggest. So 7 definitely, yeah.
And when I was there, when I was waiting for the to play the demo, they had this like little almost like cosplay acting thing they did with the people in the booth, and like some cosplayers, they were acting out like a scene from the game.
What?
It was just funny, just real corny acting, like it's right in front of you. It was just like they were taking your like checking your tickets and pretending to be like angry and stuff, at you and stuff like that. So it was just all for fun.
That's so cool. Were you allowed to take pictures? Because I heard that there was most of it was a no picture zone. Were you able to photograph them or anything?
Yeah. I got it on my channel. I got my video up for the little tour I did for E3, the 3-day tour. Mm-hmm. So I did a short little clip of that little acting part they did. You can check it out on my channel.
I'm going to, dude. That's awesome.
But so you go into the demo area, and then they sit you down in a stage area, and I thought at first I wasn't going to be able to play the game, but then it was actually just like a tutorial first before you actually go to play the game. So they showed you how to play the game for like 10 minutes, all the details, the controls and everything, and then you go in there and then you're just off and running and playing the demo. So it was a great game, a great demo, and basically exactly the same thing they had from the presentation they had in their conference. Mm-hmm. But you can kind of play a little bit before they go into that big boss fight. And then you can kind of get a hand on the controls, and then fight some enemies, and then go fight the big boss. So I really liked it. It was probably the best game of the show as far as playable was concerned that I played.
How long was the demo total? If you just could pull out a number?
Yeah, I believe it was about 15 good solid minutes. So awesome. you got a good feel of the controls. You got a really good feel of how to change between the characters. Real easy, real smooth. You can do it on the fly whenever you want, and you can stop the action whenever you want to change to select your abilities. Complete control over your character. You can fight in real time the whole time if you want to. You don't have to choose those abilities. Of course, you want to. You can have more powers, but you can duck, you can dodge. You can duck behind some boulders there against the boss, and kind of do a little strategy that way.
Oh, like a cover system. Whoa.
Yeah, it was a cover system, and so it wasn't like the original game, but it was at the same time. They did an excellent job. I was just like, wow, this is so good.
Did the demo did it have a time limit, or did we able to finish or die? If you've died?
No, there was no time. There was no time limit. I mean, there is a time limit only, but you have to beat the boss, then the demo ends. So you can spend as long as you want if you stay alive. Basically, you can play the demo for as long as you can, but obviously you're gonna have to beat him eventually. So I beat the boss, and then the demo ended. So
that's cool.
If I would have took my time longer, I probably could have drawn it out to like over 20 minutes if I wanted to, I bet.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Well, just while we're on the topic, one of the big pieces of news that came out this week is they said that they're going to be bringing back a big chunk of the original materia, but they've now officially said on the record that they're going to be inventing some new materia. They've said, like, this is a remake. Like, we are going to take some ideas that were not completed in the original version and add them in. And that blows my mind. I'm so excited to see what they make.
Yeah, it's not just an HD remake where it's still turn-based. It's totally different, but it's the same game too. It's really weird. You got to play it.
Like RE2 remake. Like I love RE2 remake, and it's one of those things where it's like it's the same story, but it is not the same game.
Exactly. That's the feeling I got from it too. It was just totally redone and better off for it too. But it still felt like Final Fantasy VII. Like you're actually fighting and choosing all your items and everything. And it's like, oh, this is just like, old hat. But when then you go back to the gameplay, it's still different at the same time. You got more freedom.
Man, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Nate, did you play? Did you head on over to?
I tried to do it on the last day, which was my mistake.
Oh, too many people. Yeah, I guess the lines must have been.
Well, they did a reservation policy only on that game. So if you didn't get there before E3 opened, you were not going to play the game.
That's so screwy.
Yeah, I mean, it was
I didn't. I mean, to be fair, another company did it a little different. Bethesda with Doom, they made it where you could go in every day and schedule a session. But pretty much, if you had a gamer pass, you were not going to get a session. It just wasn't going to happen.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, if you pay the $1,000, or if you're in the press, then you could go there earlier before all the gamers get to go and play.
I should be getting to play Doom next month. QuakeCon is like across the street.
There we go.
And I've already talked to all them. It sounds like I'm going to get to sit down with Doom for a while, so I can finally see it, because I've heard the E3 demo was superb.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play that either because of that. It was just another one of those things. I had to make. You have to make choices.
Yeah.
Am I going to play this game, or am I not going to be able to play this game? And so I had a choice to either play Zelda or Final Fantasy VII on the last day. Mm-hmm. So I tried to go for Final Fantasy VII first, and I got it. And then if I wasn't going to make it, then I was going to run over to Zelda. So I was able to get that, and I wasn't able to play Zelda, but Nate played it.
Yes, I played it twice actually.
There you go.
What was the demo? I've beaten Link's Awakening like 15 times. Like where was it at? Was it like the opening 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the game through the first dungeon.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you could like go to other areas. Like if you go out with Rock's Feather, like you could actually go to other areas, but they cleverly tried to block it off.
Yeah.
They put some rocks in some areas that weren't really there in the original game, but that's because it's a demo. So in case people got clever with Rock's Feather and decided to go jump over all the holes they put in the way.
I think they did that with the Resident Evil 4 demo back when I was when I played that at E3. I forgot what year it was, but when 4 was launching for GameCube, they added rocks that you couldn't pass through because there was nothing on the other side yet. It wasn't programmed in to get the demo. So that's what they usually do. And it's usually the first 15 to 20 minutes or 15 to half an hour of the game. I think that's the best thing to do for demos. You don't want to.
The only thing I will say about that dang demo is it's great and everything. It's Link's Awakening to the core. They still have not added the ability to skip the owl.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
You waste like 5 minutes of the demo listening to the owl, and it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, bro, I know. Lost Forest. How about that? Adventure.
But this is only like my 20th time through the game. That's
the same with Wolfenstein Youngblood. They made you play co-op.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and you can't. I don't think they weren't able to skip that.
You could, it was weird. You could skip the cutscene after 2 minutes. It's like a 5-minute cutscene. So if you wait 2 minutes, then a button prompt will pop up, and then you could skip it. It's like, hey, like I don't really care about the story right now because this is just a demo.
Yeah,
you can't really pay attention hardly there at E3.
The best early demo I ever got of a game is Bethesda took me behind closed doors to play Evil Within 2 about 8 months before it came out, and it was a 45-minute demo where you played through chapters 6 and 7.
Wow.
They just dropped you in. They gave you a bunch of guns. They showed you this, like took you to this movie theater first that like explained the universe and said like, okay, you're in this town and you know it's a simulation. Everybody's been taken over and now they're zombies. Just kill them. And so you have to fight through like almost an hour of the game. And basically when you would have gotten to the beginning of chapter 8, all of a sudden like basically the chapter 8 boss just pops up randomly out of nowhere and kills you. Like it's not supposed to be there. And now that I've beaten the game like 10 times, I know that. But it was such a clever way of being like, okay, that's as much as we made of the game right now.
Wow.
That reminds me of the Breath of the Wild demo back in 2016. Oh, that was 45. Oh, it was great.
Right.
It was great. And you spent
on the Great Plateau, right?
Yep. You got to do one where you already had all the abilities, and then that was a really short demo. And then you got to do a longer 20-minute demo that was literally the beginning of the game. And I remember I played through that thing like 7 times because I was working for a Zelda site at the time, so it was literally the only reason I was at E3. And
you've worked for like 7 Zelda sites, haven't you?
3. I mean, there's other ones I've like volunteered at, but like I used to run like a site called Zelda Domain, and I ran that all the way through 2006. And then the next year I started at Zelda Informer, and then I was pretty much there all the time. But I did like a podcast at Zelda Universe. I helped found Zelda Wiki.
Wow,
that's big. Yeah, that's
a whole bunch of stuff.
So you're a real big fan of Samus?
Actually, I founded MetroidWiki.org as well. So, yes, I am.
Well, shit.
Wow. Okay.
Busier than me.
Busy. Yeah, I did a lot.
The full game wasn't the full game. One of those demos of Zelda, the one that I played, I think was the full game.
Yeah. Well, you got to go from the beginning.
It was timed.
Yeah, it was timed. But if you actually got to the you could race. Get through the 4 shrines and race to get to it. But by the time you get off the Great Plateau, you only have a minute maybe left in your demo. So you don't really get to go much further. Mm-hmm. But what was really neat is by like the 7th time I was doing it, I was trying all the mechanics to kind of break your way off of there, like flying off the door. And But it was fun. I appreciate when you get a nice long demo when you wait a long time in a line.
And that was the only game they had there. So yeah, that made sense.
Yeah.
That was the demo that hacker tried to steal. Right?
Yeah.
They like caught a dude. Apparently had like 80% of the thing on a thumb drive before they like came up and grabbed him.
Yeah. I was actually in playing the demo when the guy was grabbed by security.
That's awesome.
I'm just like, and I walked by him. I'm like, dude, this is the guy who tweeted out that he's stealing it. Like, I see his drive plugged in, and he's got like this thing in his pocket. It's writing to. I'm like, how's no one noticing this? And then someone looked down and saw a cord going up to behind a thing that's not supposed to be there, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then security came, and he just got kicked out of E3. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Nice. Happy times. He got to play his Zelda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy VII. How about that game?
Well, I'm actually interested in the how these summons are going to work because we know. Well, I'm sure a lot of people know who've played the original PS1 version that summons can take up to like 2 minutes and 45 seconds in the game. So Knights of the Round, if anyone remembers.
Well, at least in the new game, I didn't get a chance to do that part of it. All I got to do was the limit break. So I didn't actually get to do any of the summons in the demo that I played.
Were there any in there? I'm thinking they probably didn't add them yet.
Not that I could tell.
In the final game, I feel like we'll probably see some, but I bet they're going to be like the way they work in Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, don't say that.
Where they show up situationally. Well, you could be bad, but I think the way they did summons in that was very interesting. Where, like, if you were wounded in a cold area or something, maybe Shiva would show up. And I thought the summon system that was cool because it was just whenever the gods shined favor on you. Like, it's weird of like, oh, these things are these ethereal elemental gods. Well, let me just pull out my red rock and tap it on the battlefield.
Well, one thing I can say for a fact, it did not feel like Final Fantasy 15 to control the character. So
really, okay, good. So it
didn't feel like that.
More instantaneous, like
yes.
That's the one thing everybody hated about 15 is you would hold attack and you just be doing this big fancy combo. You tap for each swing.
You tap the swing, and you can and the same with Barrett. You could shoot, you tap, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So it's more like I don't know. I guess I can't really think of a comparison, but like, is it like something like Bayonetta where you gotta, or like Devil May Cry where you gotta tap 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 tap, or is it just
no?
Do your fingers hurt after like 10 seconds, or like
Dave, did you ever play Crisis Core?
Yeah,
I did not get a chance to play that, but go ahead.
It looks like Crisis Core, and obviously you haven't played it, so you want to know, but Crisis Core had a very unique feel because it was fast enough that it didn't feel stagnant, but it was slow enough where you were able to consciously think about your moves during combat. And it really feels like they're trying to make this like Crisis Core 2.
Yeah, it does seem kind of like what you're saying there. The game, what I played in the demo, you have complete control of your character, but you can also stop. And like was shown, the characters, the enemies go in slow motion. Like you stop time, basically. Yeah. You can select your stuff. Mm-hmm. So you don't have an infinite amount of time, but then when you go back out of that, you have full control of your character. You can dodge, you can hide, you can attack by pressing the attack button, and then switch characters on the fly. It's like a little bit of both.
Cool.
What I'm excited about is that. This is where I always lose street cred with people. I've never played Final Fantasy VII. I played 1 through 6, and then I played 8 on PC. I refused to play 7 because I was a Nintendo boy, and that's when they're like, "No, we're leaving you for PlayStation." And I'm like, "I don't care, forget you." And then it went on to be one of the greatest games of all time, and I'm like, "No, why did that? Why couldn't it have been 8? 8 should have been the greatest."
Yeah,
well, I was almost like that. I almost didn't want to play it because they left Nintendo, but whatever, Yeah,
I ended up getting into Sony back when PlayStation 3 came out. So.
I did 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I went back and did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've heard from a lot of people who played 4 and 6 before 7. They don't like 7 as much because 4 and 6 were so groundbreaking. They invented like steampunk RPG, even if it was just sprites at the time. So seeing the jump to 7 was not mind blowing to them. To us, it was like, whoa, Final Fantasy VII is this masterpiece. And to them, they're like, oh yeah, it's 3D Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to me. I played Final Fantasy VI, and then right after that, Chrono Trigger, and then Final Fantasy VII. So I was like, yeah, this is great, but wow, Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, I kind of like those a little bit better.
Yeah, I totally get it.
But this will be my first experience playing 7, so it's going to be...
Yeah,
I know all the spoilers at this point, but
the thing is though, with this new game though, it doesn't play like the original, so you're gonna get your own personalized experience either way.
That's what I'm excited about.
And I noticed that most people who grew up with Final Fantasy and they played the NES and the Super NES versions, and then went on to the 3D versions. Most of the people that I know like the older versions. They say they're better than 7, 8, 9, etc. But a lot of people who started with 7 on the PlayStation. They like the PlayStation versions better than the Super. I guess maybe it's hard for them to go back and see how the graphics were in like the early 90s and late 80s.
to me, it's not a graphical thing. It's that I got spoiled that 7, 8, 9, and 10 were just so filled with side quests that were very clearly marked. Like you could pretty much tell, like, oh, this is going to be an ultimate weapon side quest and stuff. Like it was. I mean, if you were to be derogatory, it was much more obvious to me. And so going back to 4 and 6, which were much more subtle, they were much more obtuse as to where you were supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. That I think it's just one of those things of like it's harder to get into now after you've been spoiled.
Yeah.
San Commando says, "What do you think Square will? Do you think Square will updates Tifa's breast?"
There we go.
There we go. I just want to say my official stance is them titter tatters is big enough. Like they made her wear a sports bra. If you read the official correct translation, they literally just said they didn't want to have a really crazy tiny like bikini on her. So they made her put on a sports bra. I mean, they're still Tiggo bitties.
I don't know why people are making a big deal. This is a made up character in a video game. Who cares if she has?
Yeah, my favorite comment.
Z's, it doesn't matter.
My favorite comments I read on it were like when people, because that article came up talking about like bras and breast sizes with Tifa, and I'm just like, people are like, oh yeah, she has like an A cup, and I'm like, do you even?
I know, right? It's like,
do you even know?
I don't consider myself Professor Titty, but those are not A.
No, those aren't A or B's. I'm sorry to tell you, like I buy bras for my fiance. Let me tell you, that's not how the sizes work.
One of the girls on Twitter, I forgot her name, but one of them said that she has double D's still.
Yeah, but
from what they seem like,
she does have double D's.
Yeah, Geek Remix. She did a hilarious video on it, called "You Don't Understand Boob Size," and it's really funny because she just literally shows bras of different characters. Like these are huge titties. Like if this is a boob reduction, my God, she was dead before.
No, I don't know how she moved before.
Yeah,
I think I gotta name that. So hard. Wasn't it mistranslated what the originally the direction was? They said not to have them flop around, basically.
They said restricted, and restricted in Japanese apparently is a positive. Restricted means supported, but in English it means like squished.
Right.
Well, I mean, look at look at the original game. Look at the melons. Those,
yes,
I mean,
sir.
With the attack, right? With the attacks that she does, that shit would be.
I mean,
knock her upside the chin while she's trying to do flips. She would knock herself out if she was wearing what she wore in Final Fantasy VII, the original game, and did those moves. They needed to put on a sports bra because those things would be like, like boom, 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 boom. Like come on.
I think they've dramatically changed everybody's art style, and I like that. Like I think the way Cloud looks now is cool. The way Barrett looks is great. Sephiroth is by far my favorite. Now that we've seen Sephiroth walking around and talking, it seems like they really decided to make Sephiroth look like a ghost. Because remember, you don't actually see Sephiroth till really in the game. Before then, you're seeing an illusion of Genova. So it's cool that they're really leaning into that aesthetically to make him more look like a spirit. So I think they're kind of changing everybody. And I think that's fine. Like, this is a new game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a remake. Yeah.
Suzanne in chat says, think Final Fantasy VII will be Switch Pro only. Well, if there is a Switch Pro,
no, it's a PS4 game only.
It is right now is a PS4 game, but if it comes to Switch, let's just say, do you think it would be for Switch Pro only, or?
My amateur opinion, as somebody who absolutely is obsessed with Square Enix, is I think what's going to happen is it's going to be only on the PS4 for a year. Then I think it'll be on the Xbox, and then I think they're going to port it to the new consoles. And then depending on if there's some sort of Switch follow-up by then, I do think it'll come to a Nintendo console. I think it's just a matter of something being strong enough and whatever weird copyright or whatever licenses to expire so they can port it.
Yeah, like if a Pro ends up being close enough to like a base PS4, I think in a year, 2 years, you'll see like a later port of it just because they're already bringing so many Final Fantasy games over to Switch. So they already have that Final Fantasy audience built up. And 7's like the one that, hey, Nintendo fans really never got to play that one. So I think it has a chance. I wouldn't count on anything, of course.
Yeah,
because, just like, Resident Evil Remake 2, like, yeah, it'd be great if that was on Switch too. But, I mean, these companies aren't fully committed yet. Even Square Enix, like some of the games they are bringing to Switch, it's like, okay, yeah, but those are games that like look like they're kind of built for Switch.
Well, and something I've heard is Square Enix has had a lot of behind closed door talks about bringing over Kingdom Hearts to Switch.
Mm-hmm.
They want to bring Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, Birth by Sleep. They want to bring a lot of the older tech ones over first, and if they sell well, then try and bring over Kingdom Hearts 3. But there's definitely a lot of talk over at Square Enix as to what's possible. Like if we put it on Switch, it has to be a perfect version, like because a bad port won't sell.
Yeah, what I heard is actually what started some of those meetings was that they were taken aback when Octopath Traveler just blew up. They had no idea that there was that kind of audience on Switch.
And I think that exclusivity deal is over now, right? They can eventually bring it to after the PC now onto the other consoles, I imagine.
Probably, man. If they do, I'm buying it again. I bought it.
The only reason I can think it's not on them yet is there's a console exclusivity. Because like Nintendo published it in some territories as well. So
that makes sense.
But
what I think they're going to do with Final Fantasy VII, just real quick, is that I think they're going to put it on PS5 the next like episode 2, next year when they release the because I think they got a ways to go still to release all the maybe they have 3 episodes. We don't know. So it may be a while before we see it on other consoles. To be honest with you.
I think we'll see it on PC before it goes into any other consoles. Or if it launches on other consoles, it'll launch the same time the PC version launches. But in my mind, I think I know that it will come to PC.
Yeah, the game has been in development for like what 50 years. So I mean, just let's get one version out first before we go too crazy.
My only fear now is I love that so much. I am afraid that it's going to be like 10 hours long. I'm really terrified that it's part like, 1? Yeah, I'm afraid that part 1 is just going to be 10 beautiful hours.
Sure looks beautiful though.
Yeah.
Well, they said it's going to be 2 Blu-ray discs. If 10 hours on 2 Blu-ray discs, I'm going to shoot somebody.
Because part 1 will be 2 Blu-ray discs?
Yeah. That's the official statement. Yeah. And so, but I mean, who knows how much that's really uncompressed audio? If there's like 18 symphonies and an opera at one point, and we finally see Loveless, maybe. Right now, I can't pronounce your name. Wakananali 1 in chat just said part 1 was already confirmed to be a full-length game. Yes, they're saying it's a full-length game, but some people consider 20 hours a full-length experience now. So even if they say it's 40 hours, we'll see.
Maybe they're comparing it to what a Final Fantasy game is. Like maybe they're saying it's a full-length game in comparison to a Final Fantasy game. If they mean that, then it would be like 40 hours.
Well, don't we know where part 1 goes up to though? The point in the game goes up to. So I think people kind of compare that to the base version.
The rumor is that part 1 is going to be called Midgar, and it's going to end when we leave Midgar. But then they followed that statement with an official thing saying that he's going to greatly expand the story. So we're going to see probably almost all the prequel elements of stuff like Crisis Core, maybe the flashbacks that are optional in late Final Fantasy. They're probably going to put those in there. So I think that it's going to be really good. I just don't know if we're going to spend 40 to 60 hours running around Midgar.
It's a new side quest could happen, of course. Too.
Yeah, like visiting different sections because Midgar is separated into, if I remember correctly, Midgar is separated into sectors, right?
Yeah, 12 or 14, I forget. And we only saw 3.
Yeah, we only saw 3. Like what happened to, the first one and then what happened to I think the second one when, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but I think that's when you leave Midgar, you see that's the last sector you go to.
Yeah,
the 3rd sector, and then you leave Midgar, and the rest of the game continues from that. I mean, but a full game can be what? Like Resident Evil 2, people blew through that game in 48 minutes.
Yeah, I could beat that game in like an hour and a half now.
I know, me too. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
I mean, I think it's still my game of the year so far.
Well, I mean, it depends. For Final Fantasy VII, depends on how much they change. Because from what I played, it's way different. So it could be something where Midgar is 30 to 40 hours, even because of all the things they packed in there.
Oh yeah, I'm expecting that. I'm fearful. I'm just saying that I'm always nervous. Just companies now. I don't know. Every company just seems to be trying to sell the least amount of game for the highest price tag. And so now anytime, even if it's a company I love and a series I'm super fascinated by, I'm going to always assume they're going to try and fuck me in some way.
Yeah. You know,
welcome to the AAA industry.
7 is being developed by Business Division 3. And you know who leads that? One of the people who leads that division is Yoshi P, who does Final Fantasy 14. So
masterpiece.
If he's has any input on that game whatsoever, and I think he might, I trust him because what he's done with 14 is nothing short of a miracle.
Yep.
So if he has any input on 7, that would actually bring my hype up for that game even more. So,
all right. Can we talk about Final Fantasy 14 for a short bit because we're
absolutely,
super?
Yeah.
Okay. So who else played it? I know me and Vince actually played it together.
I haven't played it.
Yeah, Dave. If you like MMOs, if you start playing it, you might get hooked. So it might not be a good thing to, if you're busy, it might not be a good thing to start that game. But it is really an incredible.
I still can't get off the World of Warcraft kick, so I haven't tried it yet.
Oh my god, dude! You have to.
2005, Nate.
I'm playing World of Warcraft right now. Are you playing retail or classic?
I'm playing the current retail right now, and then I didn't get into the classic beta. So.
Oh yeah, I'm totally switching over to classic, man.
It's those 40-man raid days, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, I've already done an interview. I'm going to be in a guild as soon as the game is made. I'm that kind of nerd. I had to like do an on-camera interview of like the reason I'll be a good warlock is because I know my curses.
Oh yeah, dude, I was one of the best raiding priests on my server back in the day. Oh, it's great.
Nice, it's fun, man. But it's such a time sink. Classic WoW is such a time sink. But part of the reason I like Final Fantasy 14 a lot is Final Fantasy 14 allows you to be casual. I consider myself like ultra casual, but it's so good, man.
Yeah, you don't have to level up like 5 different characters. One character can be every single job in the game. You just change your main weapon to the weapon of a job, and your character just basically morphs from like Dark Knight to Archer to Bard to Dark Knight to Bard to. So
I'm a samurai and a paladin. I love. Yeah. I put on my shield, and all of a sudden I can become a tank, and I get out my sword, and I can be a DPS.
Speaking of 14, Shadowbringers, if you pre-order it, launches this Friday.
Yes. Man, it's very interesting to be playing an MMO. That is now one of the biggest MMORPGs on the planet, but it also has one of the friendliest communities. And so what's going on now within the game is people are literally partying in the streets. Like people are logging in, setting up campfires and passing out snow cones and like literally celebrating the streets. I went to a couple in-game parties, and it's just so weird to see an MMO where nobody's a dick. It's so bizarre to just see this like super positive part of the internet that also has like slutty cat girls.
So you got people getting like married and stuff online in there and everything.
Dude, it's called like eternal bonding ceremony, where basically any character can get married. It's just the 2 characters get married. It's
and it goes for realism graphics, which I feel like is kind of a departure. Final Fantasy 15 went for realism graphics, and the 7 remake is kind of going for realism. So it's really weird. Final Fantasy 14 has really realistic graphics. So like clothes shake in the wind, and there will be rainstorms and stuff. And I drive around on the motorcycle from Final Fantasy 7, and I can blast the Final Fantasy 7 music out of my bike while I'm driving through town. It's like, man, this is a really like real world compared to a lot of other MMOs, which try and be like cartoonish.
They've integrated every single Final Fantasy game into 14. You know that in some way or another, storylines, guest characters, mounts like chocobos, and even the car from Final Fantasy 15 was put. Yeah. You can get it if you play the event, the crossover event.
I did that quest. It was a pain in the ass.
Final Fantasy XIV is like crossover heaven with any other Square Enix game and like other games and other Final Fantasies in the series. It's just crossover heaven. Everything is in there.
It's sort of the Super Smash Brothers of Final Fantasy.
Basically, yeah.
Interesting.
I gotta say, playing it though makes me very hopeful that Final Fantasy XVI is purely single player. Because right now they have a couple official statements about Final Fantasy XVI. They've said that it will be single player focused. They've said they're already composing music, which makes me think that it is in full blown development. But playing an MMO, even one that's perfect like this, makes me realize we don't need any other MMOs.
No, with the way 14 is going right now, we do not need another Final Fantasy MMO. I was saying for at least maybe 6 years.
Yeah, minimum.
Is that free? Is that free to play or no?
You know, it's a monthly. It's $15 a month, and then you have to pay to start, and then you pay for each of the expansions.
Well,
So
actually, you don't have to pay to start. It's you can play from level from the beginning up to level 30 for free.
yeah.
The World of Warcraft did it.
Yeah, exactly. So you get like a limited version where I think you can't like go to cities and say the N-word or whatever, but like you can play the game.
Yeah, you can't join like guilds and stuff like that, but you can play up to level 30, and if you decide after that you want to play, then you can pay the the $14.99 a month. And the expansion, actually they even expanded on that because the expansion Heavens Word, the first expansion, is free to play right now too. So if you buy the game and you don't want to buy the expansions yet, you can actually play through the first expansion for free. So they treat their customer base insanely well. It's just that's why so many people are flocking to it, because it's just.
So you are paying, it's just that you're paying for good content.
Yeah,
you're paying for new content every 3 to 3.5 months. There is a shit ton of content. Each patch drops every 3.5 months, and in each patch there is a shitload of content.
I think
those patches are free.
I think I've put 200 hours into it so far this year, and I've loved it. I mean, it's an MMO with a story. It sort of reminds me of Knights of the Old Republic back in the day.
Okay.
Just because it's got like a single focused story that you do by yourself, and then whenever you want, you can just like walk around in town and people are like handing out snow cones and party favors.
As Suzanne says, you just never level up. You can play forever, basically. Then
exactly. See, that's using your noodle. But also, I think there's limited talking. I think if you're on a free account, you can't talk. So, I mean, as long as you just want to be that creepy weirdo standing in the corner with goth makeup on, you're good.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. So I mean, how about okay, well, let's talk a little bit about everyone's favorite publisher, Electronic Arts. And how they have created a new I can't even say a new form. They've renamed Lootboxes.
Surprise mechanics. I'm such a big fan of surprise mechanics.
I'm surprised.
I know.
You think that is bad? In that same meeting they did, the representative for Epic Games tried to tell Parliament that Epic does not make money from people playing games.
What?
What a load!
Because Fortnite's free to play.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
And literally, when you watch the clip of it, the guy in Parliament looks at him and like, well, okay, all your money comes from games, right? Well, yes. Okay, people play those games. Yes. But people don't have to. You can call it what you want, but there's no shame in making money playing a video game. Like, we're not shaming you for making money. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we don't make money from games. Like,
well, surprise mechanics, that's basically a loot box.
Well, to me, the more they tried to change the phrasing of it, it really creeped me out, honestly. It reminded me a lot of the people who like fight for like getting rid of gambling limits, so making it where like kids should be able to go to casinos, like those type of organizations of like they talked like that of being like, hey, it's just a fun reward, like it's totally harmless. We all understand that the point is the journey. It's not about winning a big prize. It's like, no, dude, like people gamble to get money. Like they suck at it, which is why everybody loses money at the casino. And it's like, but it's a trap for a reason. It's super creepy how they're just really like, no, man, like it's just for the goofs.
Yeah, and the prize mechanics don't benefit the gamer; they benefit the publisher, right? Because they're getting you to spend or try to get you to spend money so you can get some surprise.
I saw some article of there was some like millionaire dude who managed to like file some sort of form and actually get permission to look at his own spending for some EA game, and he'd spent like $11,000 on loot crates for EA games, and he looked at it and he said like, okay, like I can afford this because I'm rich. But I realized how much they hide all this stuff from me. Like even me, one of the prime consumers of their product, they hide all the stuff about what is the probability, what's actually in this box. I have no idea. And so he could waste that money, but it was also a huge deal of being like, nobody should be able to spend $11,000 on a game and not beat it.
Now, aren't they fighting for legal for making them reveal the probabilities or no?
Well, that's what they did in Hong Kong or in China, and apparently it worked pretty well. And I think that other countries though are fighting for an all-out ban. So EA right now is fighting to keep them legal in their current form.
So today it's interesting we're talking about this day because I actually watched a whole bunch of the Parliament stuff on this.
Oh, really?
Because everyone's just getting it secondhand, or they're just hearing like the little video clips. But I actually watched everything, and the video game industry is, if this is how they're going to argue this in the legal system, the video game industry looks like they're a bunch of idiots that are trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, and no one's buying it. And the problem with what they're doing and the way they're doing it is instead of just admitting to certain things and admitting, oh, maybe we should be. Maybe we could better explain this to consumers, or get the ESRB as an example to have a better form of communicating the difference between loot boxes, microtransactions, DLC. Instead of actually trying to do something about it, the way they're arguing it's going to lead to government regulation. And once government regulation comes in, there's always a grander fear of what else is the government going to regulate once they start to take over that for video games. That could end up being bad for consumers.
Yeah.
Because we've already seen some government regulations, especially in Australia. They deal with that a lot, where some games, like, you just have strict cut content out of it because, we don't like games. You can't have this violence here.
My main theory is that they're going to ban really predatory loot boxes, and game companies are already probably trying to jump away from it. And I bet what's going to happen is I think we're going to see a weird thing where like every game is $40, but you buy it in like 10 chunks. I honestly believe that they're going to try and do a thing in the next 2 or 3 years where you like buy the single player campaign, you pay a separate price for the multiplayer, then you have to pay for like a map pack. I have a feeling that their way of trying to get around just giving you a $60 game with $20 loot crates is to put all these extra little boxes that you open for baseline content. That way it seems like you're spending less, but you're actually spending more.
Yeah, wow. And the more they open their mouth, the more I'm just like, if I hear one more comparison to Kinder Eggs,
I know that's so weird.
Like one more. Oh, but our customers enjoy it. You're right. There are people that play like FIFA Ultimate Team that look like they're excited, but you know what? They would be more excited if they didn't have to spend money.
Yeah, it's like my brother's addicted to meth, and I bet that makes him really happy.
It's just if you guys actually go and listen to it, the video game industry sounds like they are trying to talk down to the government like they're toddlers and trying to convince them of something that is so blatantly obvious to the people in the legislature. Like, okay, you pay money for random things, you're not guaranteed any value out of it. You're just and you're targeting children. What? You're not explaining away any of this. Saying people enjoy it isn't explaining away. Like we're not debating if people enjoy it.
So technically, those games should be like AO rated, each one.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they're like. The one guy in Parliament was like, "Look, if you could just cop to this stuff, we could just make it so you have to make them adult rated. It's not like the end of the world. You just can't target kids anymore. Like we allow gambling for adults. It's not the end of the world, but
yeah, they're so weird about that stuff. I'm curious. I do think 100%. Honestly, in the next 2 years, I think we're going to see a full ban of loot crate and microtransaction mechanics. I have a strong feeling that the government's going to step in and just stomp on that stuff, and it's going to go over. It's going to go too far because they don't understand what they're stomping on. But I do think that that's what's going to happen.
They got to get rid of the gray line here. They got to just have a clear separation. Say no or yes. None of this gray stuff, because then they still get away with it. Then
to me, I feel like I don't like the cosmetic stuff. I'm a big fan of costumes are part of a game. Part of the fun of playing Breath of the Wild for 300 hours is getting the hundreds of different outfits. So even selling cosmetic stuff to me is very shady. So I kind of think that all of that's probably going to get crushed, and I'm not even against that. Honestly, if somebody finds a way to just surgically remove all this selling of extra content, I'd be cool with it.
Yeah. Just have it unlockable in the game. You pay your full $60 and then you pay more. The more people buy the game that way because they know you're not being cheated. They make more money anyway.
And let's be frank, cosmetics are still
cosmetic.
They're still, you're still buying loot.
Yeah, they're still part of the game.
Oh yeah, you're still buying add-ins that should be part of the game in the original purchase.
I'm surprised isn't being brought, at least yet. Maybe it'll happen in the US once all the filings get in. I don't know why Valve's not involved in these conversations. They literally have loot boxes in Counter-Strike that you could resell items for cash.
Well, there was a big thing with those
some of those websites and stuff like that, but it is legal and it is promoted and you can do it. So it was all about the certain YouTubers not disclosing that they were the people who own those sites, but it's legal. You can do it. There's no ban against it. How is that not gambling? You're paying money for randomness and then reselling it for cash.
Are they not being outed by people basically, or what? Or they're not reporting?
No, it's well known. There's I think 3 or 4 games out there that are doing this, and the problem is there's no laws around it to prevent it because the legal definition of gambling doesn't directly affect this kind of stuff. And so what needs to happen, or at least what's probably going to happen, is the definition of gambling, like many other legal terms, is going to expand and change to cover some of this thing. Because, all the gambling commissions are like, well, it's not real gambling according to the current laws, but laws change.
Holy crap, dude, you're blowing my mind right now. I'm not even joking, Nate. You're blowing my mind. That's so genius. Oh my God, you're 1,000,000% right. That's the smartest way of doing it, is instead of trying to crush this particular part of video games, expand gambling laws. That's such an obvious solution to the problem of because I heard that in the 90s they changed gambling laws because of all the electronic slot machines where technically those weren't gambling for a bit, but they had to be like, well, these are probability games that cost money, so we have to file them as gambling. So yes, do that with loot crates and make it where these are gambling aspects.
Yeah. And that's what frustrates me about the arguments they're making, because the way they're arguing it, the government's not going to just expand gambling laws. They're gonna bring the full force and be like, look, you can't regulate yourself. We're gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna suck. Government regulations on a lot of things have ended up, some cases it's good, obviously. But when it comes to consumer optional entertainment products, it's almost never ended up in a good space. So it'll be interesting to see. And one of the other large problems, especially here in the U.S., is the ESA handles all of the ESRB ratings and all the stuff that could actually prevent all of this. Just like when the whole violent video game thing was big in the 90s, and that's what ESRB came to be. They're all ran by the companies doing the loot boxes.
Oh yeah.
So of course they're the ESA says it's not gambling. Well, because it's ran by the companies that are doing it.
Have you ever watched? There's a documentary called "This Film Has Not Been Rated." Have any of y'all seen that?
I haven't seen it, no, but I've heard of it.
It's super interesting. It's how the film ratings board exists, and it's this top secret council of 12 random people. It's supposed to be everyday Joes, and this whole documentary basically investigated and tracked these people down and determined that they were literally these giant freaking stockholders at all the major film companies, that they were literally the people who were watching their own movies early and then assigning them grades of okay, that's probably G-rated, that's PG. And it's one of those things where it's but I mean, we set up the ratings council, so it's not like it's illegal, it's just immoral. And it was like a really big thing of being like, yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Something has to be done. They got to change it.
Yeah, and there's been all this conversation obviously around like EA and 2K and Epic and all these companies that are just making billions of dollars. But I mean, one aspect that isn't being talked about as much is what's going to happen to mobile games, because they almost exclusively rely on these mechanics. Yeah. I mean, even Nintendo's Fire Emblem Heroes, that's a gacha loot box game.
Oh yeah. Gotcha. Oh yeah. Did you guys hear that EA execs are actually not getting their bonuses? They're actually giving up
their cash bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's surprising. Is this? Do they think that that's going to give them some goodwill with gamers, that they're not getting their $75 million bonus for 1 year? I mean,
it's not a $75 million bonus. It totals like 4.8, and like Andrew Wilson's still getting paid $18 million besides that. And that's in combination from a number of execs. And it's like, okay, so all the execs give up their smallest bonus of the year. Yeah. I think the grander thing is, I don't know the word about public perception with it, because they had to know that's not going to do anything to gamers. I think this is about internally. I think their staff is like, hey, we're seeing budget cuts. We're seeing people getting laid off. When are you guys going to take a hit and help us out? Because the money's going back to them. It's not going to, they're not just like, oh, we just cut the cash and we're not taking. Like, no, we're giving it to the people below us. So I think they're just trying to keep peace in their own house, more so than worrying about what we think.
So it's just a internal politics move of like, look, we're taking a knee with you.
Yeah, like and this will trickle down to you, and you guys know, QA testers, low end developers, they ain't seeing any of that money.
Well, because they're all contractors. The more the people I talk to at a lot of these studios, that's the weirdest part, is they'll like hire a team of people to do art, but none of them are technically like art employees. They're contractors. So because of it, even if the entire team gets a you beat the game bonus, which is a real thing, where when they finish a project, they're actually all given like a couple $1,000 bonus. All the contractors don't get nothing. So I guarantee you they're probably handing this down to their buddies who are right below them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just like that. Jason Schreier just put up a new article today about Treyarch. Oh, it's bad,
dude.
It's bad. 70-hour work weeks, but because you work for Volt and not for Treyarch, you don't get a bonus when. Oh,
yeah.
Well, working minimum wage.
Well, none of that. I heard about how like they basically hang a lot of the employees out to dry, where like they make the employees like go look at Reddit and stuff to like peruse stuff, and everybody's like hating on their project, and they come back and they're like, okay, cool, how can we improve? And like they think the game sucks, and they're like, well, how can you fix that? Like, I need more than 2 weeks to make a patch.
Yeah, it gets all buggy, and then like they go back to the QA team and they're like, hey, how did this get past you? And every single one of the leads tells them, we did not have enough time to test this for you to release it. And they're like, oh, well, too bad. Go working on the next one. It's like, so you're scolding the very people that you're slaving away, making them work 70, 80-hour weeks with no overtime pay, making them walk an extra 10 minutes to work because they can't park in the staff parking lot.
Oh God,
there's a programming joke that I absolutely love. I heard it this year and I've said it like 20 times because it's so good, but it says programming managers think that 9 women can give birth to a baby in 1 month. And I've always loved that phrase of like, some things just take time. They can't be done faster.
Exactly. Just ask Square Enix.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. More and more, I mean, the more of this stuff that comes out, because like so many, because I watch a ton of YouTubers, all of you guys, and a whole bunch of others, and there's all these conversations around a lot of this crappy practices, and I just kind of sit back. I'm like, it's kind of nice, I guess, that I only cover Nintendo because I don't have to talk about a lot of this crappy stuff as much, because like everyone there usually seems happy, like. IGN Numa during E3 came out in interviews, like asked about crunch, and he's like, we don't really do crunch. We just delay the game. And I'm like, oh. Well, yeah. Okay then. Like Kotaku tried to make drama out of crunch with Nintendo, and they're just like, we just don't do that. Like it's not even a thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad I just talk about Nintendo stuff on my channel because I'd be making those same kind of videos too as other guys, being like, man, I'm tired of these overreacting journalists. I'm tired of this fake outrage.
Well,
the boy who cried wolf.
There's so much negative things going on that there's positives. Like Cyberpunk 2077 looks absolutely fantastic, but there's also drama surrounding that company and that game, and it's like. It's hard to let's just get positive. And I know that's a choice. Obviously, as a channel, you can choose to talk more positive than negative, but it's hard to ignore when the story like this comes out about Call of Duty. And they're just like, well, how do you not talk about this? Because you want to draw attention to it because you want this crap to stop.
I think the thing is that this has always been going on, but I think it's now everybody has a microphone, everybody has a camera, everybody has a voice. And so people at the bottom are able to just leak such direct information to Jason Schreier that he can use his pen to defend them. I think that this stuff's always been going on. And
I agree.
I hope that now that there's so much public outcry about it, I'm hoping that we see more of a positive shift. Because I saw that Nintendo report where Nintendo said that they're like, wasn't it something crazy? Like their average employee has been there, like their average game developer employee has been there like 12 years or something insane, where they're like, people don't quit. We give people vacations. We give people bonuses. We send them home at the end of the week. It's like
they need more time. We just give them time to do it right.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing push to next year. The reason we don't want to crunch.
Yeah.
Okay, so why can't more people do that? Take your time. Don't run your employees into the ground.
That was such a great gif of you just being like...
Too bad I didn't fall over. No, I'm kidding.
That happened once on a live stream on my old office chair because the chair broke.
Oh man!
Wow.
There is a gif of it somewhere. I gotta find it.
If you watch my really old top 10 Thursdays and some of my earliest rant videos, I had a chair I found in the trash. I used to go on these walks at night, just like de-stress between videos, and I found this giant office chair in the trash, and it had a little bit of a broken arm. And every time I was filming videos, I could only lean to the right because if I leaned to the left, the whole chair would just fall apart. And so I remember someone at one point was just like, why is Dreamcast guy always lean to the right? Because I'd be like, what's up, gamers? Dreamcast guy.
I remember that.
They're just chill. Yeah. You're just super chill. That's all I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just leaning back, having a good time.
Yeah,
he's enjoying his job.
How do you feel about video games? I'm pretty chill with them.
Hey, comfortable talking about games.
I'm comfortable talking about games. That's awesome.
Was it at least better than sitting in like a dining room chair? Because I used to do that for videos.
Oh, yeah. Dude, for years, what I used to use was a milk crate with a bunch of, this is before I did YouTube, but I used to game by sitting on a milk crate with a blanket over it. And it was cool because it would slowly bend over a couple hours and it'd eventually be basically like sitting in a bucket. And I'm like, all right, it's time in today.
Have you seen the new videos from Clean Prince? Clean Prince Gaming, his new videos. He has this really tall desk, like up to his neck. Have you seen that?
It's hilarious. He went from like, oh hey, look, I'm gonna put my computer screens in my background and be like all professional. He's like, you know what?
Yeah,
no,
he's literally
all
like
black.
this now.
I'm going to all black room and a table that's way too tall for me. And it's hilarious, and I think he knows it's hilarious.
It is. Yeah, he knows. He said, yes, tall desk. I know, but here's the topic: cyberpunk, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I bet he built all that, set up his camera. I went, God damn it.
yeah. You see, because it's probably like me. Like this, you can't really see it right now, but back here I have like a $500 desk or whatever that I do a lot of recording on now, and I bet you he just spent a ton on it, and he's like, oh crap.
I have a $200.
That's true. It's a nice desk.
I have like a $200 IKEA desk that's just 4 legs on a giant piece of wood. It's basically a workbench. And I love it. I set all my consoles on it and stuff, and it's like, all right, I mean, it ain't fancy, but you don't see it in videos. Who cares?
Yeah, that's like my actual, like where I'm sitting at now, my workstation. It's literally just like a $150 IKEA desk, couple legs and a table. That's all I need.
Yeah.
His desk didn't die; it was murdered. Okay, Ultimate Keymaster. No, but I like him actually. I like it. Lately, his videos has been really good. I like him.
He changed up his style of stuff, which is interesting. Yeah. I'm glad he did though, because I felt like you just said that like it was a running joke. Every video was.
Yeah, he knew it. He knew it.
Yeah. It was working. I think it's part of the problem that people don't realize. Like the thing that viewers don't notice is if you make a video and it gets like 1 million views, and then you make a similar video and it also gets 1 million views, you're going to keep pressing that button as long as you can. And I think he realized, oh, okay, I'm accidentally sort of stagnating my content. So he made the hard choice and totally reinvented himself.
And there's probably some like he wasn't really enjoying it anymore. He's just doing it for the views. And you know, as a YouTuber, like when I get to a point that I'm just doing it for the views, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to do what I actually want and enjoy. So,
yep. So you got to do.
Well, what's the next topic? We've kind of just been rambling.
Switch Mini, right?
Well, before we get into that, since we're on the EA thing and we're going to move on from that, let's just go to something that's just as bad.
Yay.
TV commercials in video games.
Yay!
Oh, yeah.
Yay! How's it going?
Because it's not enough that we have to watch TV commercials in real basketball games. Now we have to watch TV commercials in the video basketball games.
And they're unskippable, right?
Unskippable. And they're unskippable. Like, so, and during halftime, do we need to watch, you know, like a Ford, a Chevy or Ford Dodge Durango commercial or something like that? It's getting that's just I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, I know it's really bad. I think did you do video on it, Max? I don't.
No, I actually never looked into it.
Okay.
I've seen the headlines, but I don't know how it works. Because I don't play sports games. I don't know anything about sports, so I don't look at that side of YouTube at all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be NBA 2K20, right?
19 or 20
or 19.
Definitely one of the 2K about one of the definitely one of the NBA 2K games. Yeah.
Okay, someone in the chat saying that you can turn off those ads. Yeah, I don't know all the details about it. I think Nate's talking to someone right now. He can fill us in. I think he did a video on it. Hi. But yeah, someone's saying you can skip the ads or turn them off maybe, but yeah, I haven't looked into it myself too much. I just know that it's bad move.
Yeah, that's the thing is companies are just trying to invent new ways to make money, which I understand. I mean, they're trying to stay in business, but so much of this stuff is just so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going over the top. I mean, okay, maybe if you have the ad playing in the background during the game, like on a pre-rendered monitor or something like that, but not when you have to boot up the game, watch a 4-minute ad, and then play the game, or during the middle of the game, an ad plays. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you're playing God of War?
That'd be so weird.
And as you're about to swing that axe, all of a sudden, Chia Pet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or he's about to swing it, and then all of a sudden it slows down, and all of a sudden, like, a little goblin guy walks on the screen and goes, "Hey, this fight's pretty cool. Almost like the refreshing taste of spearmint gum." You'd be like, "Motherfucker!"
Right. And then there's a little icon at the bottom of the screen saying you could skip this ad in 5, 4, 3, 2.
I still think that's what Stadia is going to do. 100%. I think the free version of Stadia is going to have Google commercials. 100%.
Chia. There you go, Suzanne.
I'm not sure if Google Stadia is going to do that, just because it's free, but you have to buy the games, so it doesn't matter.
Well, but I'm saying they've said that there's going to be. I thought there was going to be a version where there'd be some games that were playable in some capacity in the free version, and those are the ones. Like, I figure if you're playing Assassin's Creed and it's like an old one, they just show you constant freaking ads for the new Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. I just hope they don't stop the game and you have to, and show the ads like they do in some YouTube videos, because that it would just who would want to play that? Who even?
I mean, billions of people who play games on their phones.
Yeah,
and that's who they're trying to appeal to. Like, people forget these streaming services are not for us; they're for the people who are gaming on their phone.
Yeah, you are right,
and they are literally like that's what they do. Like, I game on my phone. If there's a game I play that doesn't have ads, I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad. The ads, like I was playing a game on my phone earlier, just when I was with my kids at the swimming pool, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I started paying attention, like every 15 seconds there's an ad. and you have to wait 30 seconds before you can even skip it. And it's like, why am I still playing this? Well, the gameplay is a little bit addicting, and so you just kind of deal with it. And I didn't spend any money on it, so.
Yeah, I used to do that chess with friends a lot. Sorry, it was I did the checker. It was Scrabble with friends. And while you're playing it, it would do the thing of like you'd do your move, they did their move, then you watched an ad, then you did your move, and they did their move, and then you watched an ad. So it was like sometimes during a game, you're watching 25 ads. It's like,
oh God.
But the free version was $2, so of course the paid version was $2, so everybody did the paid version.
Yeah.
Well, let's get off of this topic because it's just making me depressed.
The direction of the industry.
Yeah. So I guess Switch Mini and Switch Pro. Well, I guess the Switch Mini is the big discussion right now because we don't know anything about the Switch Pro. But with the Switch Mini, we have leaks, I guess, and pictures,
accessory makers
making fake accessories.
Making fake accessories.
I mean, come on. I mean, they know that are these accessories that they're making right now going to be exact to the dimensions of the Switch?
They're not even making them. They're just mock-ups, and they literally said in every press person's reach out to them like, hey, like, yeah, these are mock-ups. Like, they're not in production. They won't go in production until Nintendo announces the system, and that's when they're going to make changes to it. I mean, I understand the one said they have like secret information, and maybe they do because
they may have heard something.
And they're manufactured in the same country, so it's possible that like manufacturing, you can end up finding out things. But
wasn't there some sort of? I saw Super Metal Dave. I know you've been making some videos on this topic, and I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to watch them because I've been making videos myself. But I saw people talking, and you're kind of the authority on it. There was some report that they are currently something's in production, something's actually like in full production.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal said that they're both the Switch Mini and the enhanced version are in production right now.
What does it mean?
Basically, they're making the consoles, like they're actually making them, ready to.
Is that the report when they moved their manufacturing for the U.S.? Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, they moved them from China because of those tariffs and to Southeast Asia. Yep. And the reason why I did a video on that is because that website that started showing those Switch Mini accessories, they're actually in Malaysia. And
I did see that you were showing screen caps that. So that's
So and Malaysia is a country in Southeast Asia, and that's where production of the Switch consoles have been reported on from the Wall Street Journal just a week before that to be moving to Southeast Asia, and then conveniently that website releases this mock-up or image of a Switch Mini and accessories, and then they remove that image, that one new image. They removed it from their site.
Yeah.
So I'm a little suspicious about that particular one image. A lot of people say it's fake, but I'm just saying,
it's a mock-up that they seem to be hinting it's from stuff they've heard, and if it was close enough to the real thing, I could be like Nintendo being like, "Oh, hey, this is getting attention." Like, no, not yet.
Was that the mock-up without the capture button?
Yeah. No. That was the one without the capture button. Is that fake little fan made thing?
Okay.
Yeah, the one with the capture button and with it's all decked out, looks pretty nice. Is the one that the only one they put on that website, and then they removed that one a couple of days later, 2 days later. I
bet even if these aren't real, even if they are like just random images that were made
enough.
Yeah, I bet that 99% what the Switch Mini is going to look like. Like, I bet that these are almost exactly what we're going to be buying. And I'm totally ready for it.
Yeah, I think it may be a little too close from what Nintendo was like. Hey, you better want to get rid of that because it has a D-pad. Obviously, because the reports are they're going to remove the Joy-Cons, so you would think it would have a D-pad on there. Because of that, it's going to be a portable, mainly focused device, and then it still has all the same stuff on it. Besides that, 2 sticks, the X, Y, B, A buttons, and the capture button, everything.
There were some leaks and rumors a couple months ago, like back in February and March, that it might be a clamshell design. Do we actually think that when it actually comes out? So the main thing I'm picturing is that there will be like, the screen cover that some of the Game Boy Advances had, where it actually had a thing right here that would close over. Do we actually think it's going to have that, or is it just going to be just your Switch Mini?
I personally don't think it'd have a clam design, just because. Yeah, but just because it'd make it way too fat, right? I mean, even that mock-up they had looked a little fatter than the original one. So I don't know, but I don't think they will go back to the clamshell, because then what they've been doing with that is adding a second screen. I just don't see them doing that anymore. Having dual screens.
I heard the original talk was that the reason they were looking into that is because of the crazy success of the 2DS being so heavily marketed towards kids. And so apparently the internal talk, according to these leaks, who knows how real or fake they are, was that Nintendo was trying to replicate that they wanted to make the most idiot-proof version of like, check it out, here's an armored Switch, drop it down the stairs, we love you.
But you have to think about this too, Max, is that why are they releasing all these screen protectors then?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like
to me, I can see them doing it, but I feel like it would be such a bad move. To me, I feel like aim high, like realize that a huge part of your demographic is older people that can't be trusted. And worst case scenario, if little Billy does break it, well, I guess he's getting another one for Christmas.
Exactly.
And the big thing to remember, like you're just holding up like the Game Boy Advance and like there's a Switch. The Switch itself, like the actual, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a new skin. The Switch itself is actually like really durable already, the tablet part. Like you could drop this and drop this and drop this. The screen doesn't shatter. That's why it's plastic. So yeah, it might get scratched and scuffed, but that's better than shattering. Yeah. So they already took durability in mind with the tablet. It's just the Joy-Cons that keep getting wrecked because there's so many fine moving parts in it and they're detachable and all that. So like I honestly think I could Switch Mini with non-detachable Joy-Cons and just smaller and maybe a little bit heavier plastics, and potentially if it happens to be using the new shrunk down Tegras that are supposedly in the works, they might not need a fan, and if they can get rid of the fan, then there's no moving parts. And I don't think kids are going to just be, I mean, the Game Boy Advance, same thing. Like I still have my original over on the shelf over there and like still works like it's brand new. Like those things are a tank. You don't need a clamshell design or anything to like make things more protective and durable,
Yeah. But in regards to these retailer leaks, I think the only one that I'm really suspicious of is that one in Malaysia. The rest of the ones I think are just copy, or they've kind of piggybacked the news and they're releasing their own stuff like that. But that first one, that's really suspicious because they did remove that image. So I'm really suspicious of that design, how close it is actually to the final one.
I'm sure they'll keep the get rid of the Joy-Cons and just have one big unit, because
one big Joy.
Right? Has this ever happened to your Switches where my Joy-Con
is yours bending?
No. Mine doesn't. You can see mine doesn't lock. That's
interesting.
This thing over here, the little plastic.
Oh yeah. You think it shrunk?
No, I think it shrunk or it chipped, and I hear it's been happening to a crap load of Joy-Cons where they just don't stick anymore.
Is that a 2017 launch Switch?
Yeah,
or newer one?
It's a day one. It's a day one. Yeah.
So my launch Switch, the screen is broken now. It works a little bit, but my screen is about 75% broken now. Unfortunately, it's just the touch doesn't work super well. I can't like type in numbers and stuff. So I'm really hoping for the Switch Mini, just because I actually want to replace my main one.
You never put because this one, I don't know if you can tell, but this one has one of those.
I got one.
The tempered glass ones.
Yeah,
and it's still broke.
Yeah, well, it's just the sensitivity, and honestly, I believe it's just because I traveled with this a lot in the last 2 years. I took this on a lot of flights. I threw it in a lot of suitcases. So I think it's that I actually think I'm that 1 in a million person who managed to just vibrate this poor thing to death.
Well, the system physically needs an upgrade as far as the actual components are concerned. Remember that the video by Spawnwave, John, he examined why the Joy-Con drifts is because it actually gets worn down on the inside. that little part on the inside actually gets worn down over time, and it actually needs to be replaced. So after like 2 years of wear, actually physically the Switch starts breaking down. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I have trouble holding the Switch and playing games. Like I bought the Satisfy
that thing is comfortable.
This thing makes the Switch like incredibly comfortable. It not reduces it makes the usability of the whole system itself like 10 times better.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I'm getting carpal tunnel in my right hand because of the way the Switch is designed. It's just really my hands are too big for it, you know.
Wood from Beat 'em Ups lives near me, so I hang out with him sometimes, and he has those, and it looks so ridiculous, but he swears, he's like, no, man, he's like, I game with this thing in my hands all day. It's totally fine. And so he's almost talked me into buying them.
Yeah, I tried. They had a huge display of it at E3 this year, so I finally picked one up and started playing. I'm like, it just feels like I'm using a normal controller around.
Yeah.
Like it looks dumb.
It's cumbersome, but
it's so comfortable.
How big it is, yeah.
It looks weird because it looks like little rabbit ears sticking out the bottom, but it turns it into like a regular joystick, you know, and it just makes it.
I love the way on the right one because the right one's out further, and it actually ends up turning your hand just enough that suddenly it's like the control, like the controller is kind of tilted instead of being straight up. And I found that makes a huge difference on my thumb, on the pressure when I was using it. Because normally I'm cramping my thumb just a little bit, not enough that it bothers me, but enough that over time it would. Because I end up docking my Switch enough that I'm using, something like one of these that it doesn't bug me for long sessions. But
it hurts me because this is my dialysis arm, so they draw blood from this arm 3 times a week. So this arm cramps a lot. So with that thing, I'm actually able to play hours and not get fatigued. This is what I'm worried about the Switch Mini. If it's smaller, I'm gonna have a really hard time using that thing unless I come out with a holder like that to complement it, because I would never be able. I wouldn't be able to use it. I just can't do it.
I love.
We got to see how it is. We got to try it out for ourselves, basically.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like 60% smaller. So it's tiny enough that it's a very obviously portable focused device, but not so small that I can lose it in the couch.
So no Switch, not like a Switch Micro, right? Like
Because I have the Game Boy Micro.
That's cool.
And it's not, you can't play RPGs on it because they shrunk the screen so much. And so
that thing was so small it barely existed.
Yeah, hold on. I have it in this box next to me while y'all talk. I'm going to grab it just so you can see how freaking tiny that thing was.
Game Boy Tiny.
Game Boy Tiny. Switch Mini Me.
And apparently, Bob Wolf from Wolf Den, that's like his favorite Game Boy Advance is the Mini. He's the only person I've ever had say that.
Cool device. It's just like
way too small for me.
It looks really cool. I just can't play it really well.
It's like
here's a Nintendo Switch. Just comparisons. This is the DS Lite, which you got to think at the time this was one of the smallest handhelds in the world, very compact. Now let's just bust out. This was the very short-lived Game Boy Micro.
But that looks so cool. Look at that.
Yeah, I know.
This is one I actually met a guy at a convention and he customized this for me. It's actually a Legend of Zelda one. He actually etched a Hyrule logo into it, and he actually, in the Hyrulean language, when you turn it on, across the bottom, there's actually a bunch of Hyrulean text he carved into the paint.
Wow.
That's sick. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Well, he also ripped off the back and put in a better battery, so it actually runs like 10 times longer than a normal one.
Oh man, that's worth some money.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
$100, and I was like, yes, that's the only Game Boy Micro I ever need to own.
Damn,
awesome.
I get that. That even though I wouldn't be able to use it, I'd still like I just frame it, you know.
I keep it in my Game Boy collection box and go, it's over there.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to show. So hopefully it's soon.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't September the month everyone's kind of speculating at this
That's
point?
what the retailers are saying, at least for the mini.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Zelda and a whole bunch of other games are coming out around that time. So
you got to think they'll just drop an announcement like next month. You got to think like 2 months in advance or a month in advance, get the pre-orders going.
And who knows? I
it's
mean,
Nintendo, they might give you a week.
yeah, they may give you a week. I was going to say that, like 3 days, and all of a sudden, boom, you can buy this on Friday.
That's what it felt like with the new 3DS, man. It was like announced, and here you go.
And people forget that's what. Remember, Sony did that with the PlayStation Slim. They were denying that the PS4 Slim existed. People already found one and did an unboxing video on YouTube before it was announced. It was like,
that's not real.
So Sony's like, oh, that's just a 3D printed mock-up.
It doesn't exist until they announce it. That's the thing. Even though if you have it in your hand, it doesn't really exist.
Or like how Nintendo kept saying, like, we're never going to stop making games for the Game Boy. We'll never stop making games for the DS. Like they always said, it's like, well, we're not going to stop doing it until we stop doing it.
Dude, there was Reggie Fils-Aimé was on camera saying the Wii U had a long life left in it in late 2015. And they stopped production the next year.
Man, he'll say whatever it takes to sell that pizza. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, he will say whatever Japan tells him to say because that's his job.
Yeah, but that's what we're hearing now with these interviews after E3. Hey, where's the new Switch hardware, guys? Are like, there is no, it's not happening. You know, right. Like, come on, shut up.
They could say that as much as they want. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
We know at least one new iteration, whether it be a mini or a pro, something is in the works.
Definitely.
Guaranteed.
They always redesign and do something different. They've even been doing it with their home consoles dating back to the NES. Like,
yeah,
they always, the Wii U is like the exception because it failed, so it wasn't around long enough to do something.
The first redesign for the 3DS was in 2013, right? For the XL?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
2 years later? Yeah, so yeah, there you go.
Actually, they did manage to redesign the Wii U, I believe, but not physically, just internally. Where
yeah, but
you couldn't play Wii games, right? And
yeah, a lot of the internal changes were about a lot, like the Switch has technically had an internal change, but it's all about like stopping hacking and just
And some of the screens light differently a little bit. You can tell some of the screens light differently.
That's Nintendo's infamous for the different manufacturers using their own screens and not having the quality.
I think one is like Sharp, another one is like AU Optronics or something like that.
It's like, do you get an IPS screen or do you get a TN panel? And that's the debate. And you never know what you're going to get. Apparently, all the launch units used IPS though, so apparently I've got a good screen. I'm told. I don't know. I can never tell the difference.
Well, I mean, IPS you get better colors and everything. TN you get less ghost.
Sure.
So yeah,
but like if I'm just holding the Switch that has a TN panel or has an IPS panel, unless they're right next to each other,
hard to tell.
You could fool me. It doesn't really bug me that much, but I understand there are people like there's that one female YouTuber who's like dedicated to like trying to find an IPS 3DS, and she's been trying to find it for like years. She's bought like hundreds of them and it hasn't gotten one yet.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because they're really hard to find because it's only like one line in the entire manufacturing chain that uses it, and so and there's no like idea on is that line being shipped to Japan, is it being shipped to Europe? Like no idea. Is it part of this special edition or is it? It's nuts. So most 3DS panels are actually just TN, but there is one manufacturing line using IPS. And what I don't understand is why. Like, just make them all TN or all IPS. Why do we have to have differences? I don't understand. I'm not a manufacturer, so I don't know why that's a thing.
Just cost, I guess. You know, just maybe some panels aren't available sometimes or harder to get. But I'm guessing that's the only reason.
Mm-hmm. You can't just give me plasma.
No. So that Nintendo 64 HDMI out that you guys were talking about earlier, the Super 64.
Yeah. I really like it. It's just the price is a little bit too high. Right?
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm interesting, but it needs to be half of that, like $150. Maybe it's just that I don't have a huge Nintendo 64 collection. I have like 20 games, maybe. So just the idea of paying so much for something that doesn't even upscale to true HD is just not enough.
Yeah, is it like the M cable where it has a chip inside, some kind of processor?
It has
a processor and scissor inside the cable.
I have the page here. It says it has the Super 64 as a plug and play HDMI adapter for the Nintendo 64. No mods required, which I like. Provides the best visual signal possible on original hardware, which I like. Pulls N64S video and scales to 480p. Custom tune colors and audio to create the most true to form N64 experience. Lagless input. And they also have a slick mode, which produces more polished image. So it does have some kind of video scaling or video like improvement there.
That's what I was talking about. This slick mode. Nice name.
Yeah. They got a picture of it. It makes the jaggies less apparent, basically, like anti-aliasing, basically.
So it's like an AA process. Okay.
Yeah.
It's certainly good. It's I just don't think it's $150.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would wait for a competition to release something similar, and then they'll drop it by like under $100 probably.
How much do you think that thing costs to make?
$12 probably.
Right?
Yeah, maybe.
So they're making like a 500% markup on the thing, and it's just
not as bad as shoes.
Well,
yeah.
It's under embargo apparently, from what Max was saying, right? Till July.
Everybody's allowed to talk about it like July 12th or 13th. Full disclosure, I've talked to the company privately. I think they might send me one. I don't know yet. But the thing about it that's just peculiar to me is that that's expensive. Part of that's because it's a small company. Small companies have to charge more because it's just less employees actually physically assembling stuff. But over $100 still seems like a lot.
Right.
Well, how much was it? Isn't the one adapter for certain GameCubes really expensive too?
That's $150, but I'll be honest, I think that's more worth it because the GameCube HD cables are like $200 to $300.
Sure,
so and it worked great. I own two of those. I actually own two separate of the GCHDs, and they're great.
I bought the M cable for $107, which was the 9-foot long cord version. So that's cheaper, and that works for more consoles than one. And so yeah, it is a bit high for one console. That's true. I was excited though when I first saw it. I was like, yes, but then I saw the price. And I was like,
how many options really exist to do this without modding your system?
That's why it's so expensive.
Yeah, like when you basically are the market,
right?
Now they probably looked at, GameCube wants this. Well, we're just going to charge something like that too because there's no one else doing it.
You're the only place, providing the oil for your car.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like why computer GPUs. That's why NVIDIA GPUs are so much money, because there's no competition in the high end. And there's just
same was true for Intel, and now
they got competition now.
I don't know what you're doing with your prices, but we're giving better products for cheaper. The new 3600 leaks. Yeah, we're competing with the 9900K for $200. Good luck.
Yeah, Intel.
That's our low end CPU, by the way.
Intel document leaked earlier today, saying that Intel now considers AMD "quote unquote" formidable.
They should have considered it 2 years ago when Ryzen hit the market. What are they doing?
Right now, AMD, like I said, I tweeted this earlier. Formidable AMD right now is like in the CPU marketplace is more like invincible.
Yeah, especially since Intel said, we're not even doing 10 nanometer till 2022, and I'm just like, and they're already on 7. I don't know what you're doing. You are so far behind. You were caught with your pants down, and you are not prepared to respond at all.
Well, to be fair, Intel's 10 nanometer is on par with these 7 nanometer process.
It is. Like the 7 nanometer is how they're able to get these clock speeds now with all these cores that they weren't able to do before. But again, it's still but they're also charging significantly less than you are. Now, Intel, did they just announce like a 15% price drop they're going to do? And it's like, you're still significantly more expensive. That's nothing.
Right. Yeah. When their 16 core processor is $1,800, and then AMD's 16-core processor, high-end desktop is 409, and I'm sorry, $699, $799, and are just a tiny bit slower in single-threaded performance, but matches in multi-threaded performance. Yeah.
And then there was like new information coming out on what the new Threadripper is going to be like, and I'm just like, I don't know what Intel, like, I don't know what they're gonna do for now. Not until they finally move completely down to 10 and then start working on smaller. And it's fine. The guys, Intel CPUs are great. There's nothing wrong with them. They've just owned the market for so long that they've overpriced everything to these insane levels. And it took 2 years, I guess, of AMD kicking their butt, and they're only now responding when AMD is like, hey, now we're going to match your per core performance and offer more cores, and for like $300 cheaper. What are you going to do?
Hardcore.
Yeah, hard. I'm actually curious what if the Switch Pro comes out, what's going to be in it? Is it going to be just a shrunken Tegra X1 that can clock higher? Is there going to be new architecture?
I think it's new architecture because I did a video on this today. They're actually hiring software engineers, driver support for virtualization of OS for a piece of hardware. So they only have 2 systems that are rumored to be coming out. So they could very well be emulating the OS for the Switch, for all we know. Speculation, but we'll see.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I think for sure the shrunk down X1s, which are like not really even a rumor at this point, because Nvidia is going to be using them in their new
Shield
So I think like the Mini would go that route, just because I think because it's lower power draw, they'll be able to run it without a fan, and get pretty much what the Switch does now. So I think like that's what they're looking at for the Mini, because I think a big thing for them, if they want a cheaper model that targets kids, got to get rid of moving parts.
Yeah,
they got to go. And then for the Pro, I mean, it's anyone's guess at this point. I don't think it's coming this year. I know that Wall Street Journal is still pretty adamant that both are coming this year, but I think it's a 2020 product, and I think the timing of when they talk about it, regardless of what the tech is, I mean, whether it's impressive or not impressive, the timing of announcing that is going to be key with the next gen coming, because they don't want to necessarily be overshadowed, even though, I mean, Nintendo's kind of in their own market with this hybrid thing, but I think there's a lot of people hoping that the Pro keeps it at least as competitive as Switch is now, so we can continue to get, the next Doom that's going to be made for the next gen systems and stuff. So
yeah, personally, this is just my opinion, really. I think it makes sense for them to make basically like one customized chip for both these systems, and then have one with the cut down cores basically, and produce that for the Mini, kind of like what they do with cell phones, right? You got the high end model and the low end model, or GPUs, for example, you got like the GTX 1060 Ti, and then the 1060, or you got cut down models of the same core. That would be, I think, cheaper for them to produce one type of chip and then make modifications on it for a lower end model, a higher end model. Since they're both releasing the same time period, as far as what the Wall Street Journal says, that makes sense, at least from my point of view.
Well, we'll see. All we know for sure is that the cut down Tegra X1 does exist. Anything else that's coming, I mean, they've done a pretty good job keeping a lid on it. There isn't even like speculation on what it's going to be. It's just, hey, it's more powerful. Okay. I mean, what's that mean?
Beefed up? They said beefed.
Beefed up.
There's some hamburgers in there.
Beefed up.
Delicious hamburgers.
They added some cheese. They finally discovered the cheese.
Hey, I got to run here in just a bit. I actually have another like 4 hours of editing to do before bed, and it's 11 p.m. here.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. We were going to talk about Bloodstained really quick, right?
Yes, that's the last thing. That's our last thing to talk about.
Like what? Like 1 minute loading screens between jumping between.
Oh my god,
rooms
on the Switch version. Oh, yeah, jeez.
I'm exaggerating. But
the thing that bothers me the most about the Switch version, and I haven't played it, I just saw a friend playing it. Why is it as blurry as it is in handheld for the kind of game it is?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not a game that feels like it should be destroying the hardware like that.
So many effects are removed. That's the weirdest thing. Is like water effects, background effects, like foreground effects. They basically it really seems like they got the raw code and they just hatchet it down until it could just be as steady as possible.
Yeah,
it looks like they just threw it on there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no optimizations. We're just going to cut things out and call it a day. But I've seen the Xbox version. There's no way that can't run on Switch. We've seen games that are better than this run on Switch.
Just, do they really, Max? I haven't played much of the Switch version. I played like 5 minutes of it. But did they, or anyone here, did they really cut down a lot of graphical effects in the game?
Yeah. So I played it. I beat it fully on PS4 Pro and played it a little bit on Nintendo Switch, and it is a glaring downgrade. And it's weird because to me, it doesn't seem like it should need it. I mean, it seems. It seems like you bought a car and you're riding your bike to work. It's like your car is still in the driveway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people have told me like, hey, it's still fun. It's still a good game. It's just. And to be fair, on the Kickstarter page, they put an update and they said, "Hey, look, like we hear the feedback. We got you. We're gonna fix it." And the one thing that's been nice about the studio behind this is they've been transparent the whole way on this project. So it's one of those things like when they say, "Hey, look, we hear your feedback. We're going to make improvements. We moved resources from other versions of the game over to this to make it better." I give it like a month or two, and I think it's going to be great. It's just right now on Switch, it's an okay game. No, you play it and you don't really understand why it's running the way it is. Doesn't make any sense. But apparently everyone that I know has played it anyways on Switch and said, hey, look, yeah, it sucks, but it's still fun.
Yeah, I've been playing it on PC and, just with everything maxed out on 4K, I'm still getting like 300 frames a second on it. It's just
here we go. Here you come the hardware brag.
No, I'm not gonna brag. I'm just saying that like since I'm playing on PC, I can't imagine going to the Switch version after that.
Well, it's definitely the more I play games at 60 frames a second, you realize how important that actually is. So, I went from playing Final Fantasy XIV on PS4 to playing it on a laptop to playing it on actually my home computer, and seeing all those visuals, all the spell effects, all the crazy stuff, just people walking around in town at 60 frames a second, it seems like a different game. So the fact that I've heard like it's roughly running in the mid 20s frames a second, like after playing it at 60 FPS, that would kill me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I don't see why this game can't run at 60 on Switch anyways. Like, again, this isn't like the first game like this to be on Switch, and we've seen them look better and run better and be
Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, I'd say Yooka-Laylee. I think Yooka-Laylee, yeah. Graphically, I feel like they look like they're kind of the same engine, and Yooka-Laylee runs amazing.
Look at games like Doom and Wolfenstein. They're 30 frames a second, but they're almost steady 30 frames a second. And dynamic resolution, which Bloodstained is too, but Bloodstained is dropping down to like 14, 15 frames a second.
I think the slack, the only reason I'll give them a little slack is one, I do think they're going to fix it, but I think the big thing is this game started development when Switch wasn't even around. So potentially they started like, we're going to make it kind of on Wii U. And then Wii U is canned, like, we got to move this to Switch. And it's a Kickstarter project. They only had a finite amount of money. So like having to like switch development halfway through to an entirely different platform without any more money coming in, it's kind of like, hey, you know what? This is the budget we had left. And we had two choices. We could have, delayed it indefinitely and tried to get more people to support that version and get more money to do it right while everyone's already playing it on other systems. Or we could just kind of release it as is, try to get some sales, use that money, reinvest, try to make the game better, slash the price once it's better, and try to get people's faith back. I think that's what they're going for right now, but
some people who are way more tech savvy than I am said that very likely what they probably did is for the first like 4 years of this project, they were building it as a Steam game. And then they knew that since the architecture of the PS4 and the Xbox One is so computer-like, the conversion process was very, very easy. And very late in the project, they had to take the original idea of the Wii U version and convert it very rushed into a Switch version. So I think it's going to be completely great when they're done with it. It's just going to hopefully not take too long. It could take like 6 months, though, or something.
Yeah. And I think the only hope they have, if it takes forever to get it right, is you got to do a big price cut because we've seen it. We saw it with NBA 2K19, shot to the top of the charts, $3. It's like if you price cut and you get and all of a sudden lots of people are saying good things about your game at the time you price cut, you'll get faith to consumers back, which is going to be huge to keep people buying it once the sale price goes away, and then also, for a sequel or whatever else you have coming next, as long as you don't do the rush job on it again. And it feels weird too that the Switch version was rushed when indies have performed so well on Switch. It feels like that should have got the attention. The other versions could have waited.
Especially because remember, they themselves were bragging about how much Curse of the Moon outsold every other platform on Switch. So it's weird to be like, oh, this is our main cash cow? Neglect that hoe.
Yeah. I think that's what's frustrating some people. It's like, why? Like, this is where you're going to make the most money and you're this? What?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine being one of those $8,500 backers on or was it a Kickstarter? It was a Kickstarter, right?
Kickstarter, yep.
Kickstarter, and then getting a version like the Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they
I
did.
would be so.
What about the dudes who paid $10,000 for Mighty Number 9 and they actually eat the
man.
You ever see that? There was a guy. This guy wrote. He was one of the 3 people who paid $10,000 to Mighty Number 9. And one of the things is you ate dinner with the director, and he wrote a thing about what that was like. Where like they were so excited and they like flew him to Japan and sat him down and they're like so excited and it was like in this weird like closed door at the back of like a steakhouse and like they ate the entire dinner. And we're like, oh man, like where the hell is he? And he came in with like a little tiny, like half dead laptop and showed them the first level. And they're like, well, this is really cool. And then he just left and they were like, something about this seems bad.
Something seems a little off there. You know?
And then imagine you also paid that $10,000 and then you wanted, what was it? The 3DS version or whatever that never came?
Yeah, Red Ash. Yeah, Red Ash. They basically said they were going to make their own version of Mega Man Legends 3. And where's Red Ash now?
In ashes. So Vince, you're gonna. Is there a giveaway?
Yes. Actually, I'm gonna try to post the Gleam IO link in the chat.
Sure.
I don't know if it's gonna let me. If not, then I'll post it on Twitter.
It should let you.
It should let me. Yeah, but here's the PS4 version. So but you don't have to get the PS4 version. Anyone in the chat, you choose your own version. Xbox, PlayStation 4, PC. If you must get the Switch version, I'll send you the Switch version. But
to be clear, folks, it is a really good game.
Yeah. If you choose the PS4 version, this one is still sealed and everything brand new. The other version, the Switch version, I heard it's hard to get.
It's sold out at retailers.
Yeah, so I may send a digital. Yeah, I might
selling version.
Steam, PC. I'll gift it to you via Steam or GOG. Because they have it on there, your choice, Steam or GOG, and Xbox. I'll try to get the physical version if you guys choose that. But digital versions, that would be the easiest. But if you guys want the physical version, I'll whoever wins, I'll mail that out to you. Let's see if this link goes in there.
Yeah, give it a shot. I can see what you're doing here, so it's it worked.
There you go. Yeah, you guys just click on the link. The contest is open until tomorrow, and it's just a single night thing. So get on it really quick.
Pick PS4.
Pick PS4.
It's a reward for watching us go on and on about funny things.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Final Fantasy VII podcast.
That was a cool line. Yeah, what was that line you said again, Max? Joey tweeted it out.
Oh, the titty professor. I'm not Professor Titty.
Oh, great. That line alone was worth the entire podcast.
Thank you.
Worth the price of admission.
I did a podcast just before this, actually, to run to the other side of town, go to a studio and record a podcast about comic books, and then run all the way. So
when you told me that, I felt so bad, Max. I was like, "Oh shit, man, he's doing his own podcast, and I'm making him come on tonight."
That's the grind, man. That's the hustle.
Horrible, man. Oh,
it warmed me up, bro. It was the fight before the fight.
Yeah.
Well, this is pretty fun. Thanks for having me on and everything, buddy.
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess that does it for the night. So before we go, let's just let everyone know. Dave, where can people find you?
You can just type in Super Metal Dave 64 on YouTube or Twitter, and you'll find me there at SMetalDave64 on Twitter.
Great. Nate?
Literally just type Nintendo Prime anywhere, and I'm the only one. So
The only Nintendo Prime. And Max, where can people look you up?
I'm just youtube.com/Dreamcast guy. I should have a big video all about Mario Maker 2 up on Friday. And I'm really wanting to do like a really deep dive about Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. So even if you're not normally a FF14 fan, I do hope you check that video out. It should be out sometime early next week. It should be fun.
Cool. Are these going to be reviews or what?
Yeah, both of them I want to do as reviews. The idea for the Shadowbringers one is to kind of review what it is and kind of talk about how good Final Fantasy XIV is. Because I feel like a lot of people look at it and go, yeah, okay, it's weeb shit, and they just dismiss it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey,
Basic. No,
whatever. Yeah, watch this guy's reviews because they're really good. So
Thank you. They keep me up at night. I try so hard.
I watch them like when I just watch your reviews when like I have nothing else to do and I see a Dreamcast guy review and I'm like, oh, let's see if this is a game I want to play. So
So I can't fall asleep tonight. Dreamcast guy. Ooh, the sound of his voice.
Exactly. People used to say my voice gave them headaches. Years ago, I used to say I comment a lot of people like Dreamcast guy's voice is like a crackhead video game announcer. Like, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Mario Maker and what's in my butt.
Yes.
You've come a long way. I've seen your older reviews. Yeah, you've definitely stepped it up. So
okay, thanks so much, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Everyone, chat. Thank you very much. And we'll see you when we do this next time, hopefully within a week or two.
Bye-bye, guys.
See you guys.